in you know, my mother and my father, who didn't have much educational opportunity and wanted me to seize that opportunity, and I couldn't let them down. They did everything they can to get me to the United States, and so I had to succeed from that standpoint. But beyond that too, you know, I also had Montserrat to represent.
Okay, yeah.
It was, you know, no one's ever heard of Montserrat.
Small community or so island.
I had to succeed for my country.
Okay.
You know, so then I had a whole village behind me, if you will. And you know, that drove me.
So you have like
I was driven by that, definitely, and
like
then,
you shoulder a lot of...
I was shouldering, you know, a huge island. And family and all that, and you know, I was the first in my family to go to a 4-year university, and again, for that reason, I had to succeed. But as I said, what I found is that I performed well, you know, better than my white peers, even, and so
proud of you.
I realized that, hey, I am just as smart, and it made me apply myself even more, and I was more driven to achieve the best that I could. And so I would, you know, sit at the front of every class. I would learn kind of how to navigate and how to be strategic.
So when you were in college, you would try to be at the front, like close to the professor, so that you can hear better, or why? I kind of have an idea, but I want the viewers. Why is it important for students, especially college students, to sit in the front rather than in the back?
Yeah, because when you sit in front, you tend to be more attentive.
Okay.
You don't miss anything. And if you have any questions or anything, it's easy to, you know, sometimes you kind of raise your finger or what have you. If you're at the back, they might miss you, and things go on. But when you're in front of the professor, you get your questions answered. And so, you know, that's part of it. The other part of it too is, you know, you just feel really more engaged into the conversation. And then also too is the perception that the professor have of you. You know, folks that you see that sits at the back, you know, they may perceive you, whether or not it's true, as less engaged.
Okay, that's it.
And so, you know, with a professor seeing you being more engaged, they may want to do extra to help you. So whether
that's
inviting
a great
you,
advice. So the engagement with the professor.
Yes, and the perception they have of you. Because if people have a perception that you want to do well, they want to help you do well. But if they have the perception that you might not care, they might not care to help you either. So that's huge, and that makes a big difference. The other thing is that, as I said, you have to be strategic. So there were things like...
Could you pronounce... I'm so sorry. Can you pronounce that word again, like slowly?
So the word is strategic.
Okay. Can you give a little definition of that?
So it's about having strategy. It's like, okay, if you want to get from point A to point Z, it's often not a straight road. And it's like, how can you best get to that Z position in the most efficient and most effective way? That's strategy. And so obviously in this situation, it's about performing well and graduating and being a success, right? But, you know, it's not a straight road. You've got financials to worry about. You've got limited time. You've got new learnings to, you know, you've got people to navigate. And a lot of it is a lot of these things are out of your control to some extent. And so you have to be very strategic. So for example, one of the things that I learned is, you know, you can work really hard in a class and do poorly, and you could work really hard in another class, and because of a different professor, you can do great. So there's the ability to research professors, you know, before you take the class. And so a class...
So do you do that before you go to every classes that you
Absolutely.
So you research, you find out about that professor, what his or her preferences, or...
I would.
You would?
I would actually research the professor.
And you know what, Gary, I have to admit, I didn't do that. I went into my classes in college blindly. Blindly.
No.
I should have, to be honest with you. I should have
Yep.
researched them
Yes.
first. I mean,
Yes.
you should.
If you're hiring anybody, you should research them.
No, but
if you're,
I only
anything you're
word
doing
of
in life, you
mouth
gotta
from,
research.
from other
and you've got this
former
person that's
classmates.
gonna make the biggest difference to what's going to be your final grade, which is gonna translate into how much money you get. It's gonna translate into what career you end up having and who gives you a job off. So you've got to achieve the best result, and in order to do that, you want to make sure you're going with a professor that's not going to make it even that much harder.
Okay.
So that your effort gives you or positions you to get you the best grade that you possibly can get.
Okay.
And
Gary,
so,
not to cut you off, I was just wondering now, when you were in schools for those years for your bachelor, master, and doctorate degree, did you have any professors that giving you a very hard time, like very challenging?
Yes, I've had a lot of professors that were super challenging. There's times when you can't, it's unavoidable because some classes are just going to create, a significant challenge. I mean, if you're doing managerial accounting, you're doing, managerial finance, when you have to, calculate the weighted average cost of capital, it's not easy remembering those formulas, right? But there's tricks to doing that. There's things that you can associate it with other things that you're going to remember. So again, it's about being strategic. There's a strategic way to learn, and everybody have a different way that they will retain things, and so you have to find what strategy works best for you. So strategy is important in a lot of different facets to achieving success.
Gary, Dr. Gary. I have to apologize. I'm used to calling you Gary because you're my brother-in-law. And I've known you
Call me whatever you want.
I've known you before you become a doctor.
You call me Gon, Bong, brother, whatever. Brother-in-law, whatever you want. Call me
now. The job that you are working at, like the company, could you tell us a little bit about where you work? Is it okay?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm a Caribbean person. I have more than one job. My main job, as it is today, is that I've worked for an insurance company, Liberty Mutual Insurance, who I've worked for the last 18 years.
18 years.
Yeah, so a long time. And
almost the same years as me teaching at the same school.
Wow. Well,
going to be my 20th year.
That's a long time. Yeah. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And I've worked in a lot of different areas within the company. That's a blessing to be able to do that. But again, I got really
You're
good
very
training.
Loyal. You're very loyal. At 18 years.
Not only is
it because they're treating you
the
very
loyalty,
well?
The loyalty kind of goes both ways, right? It's because people get laid off all the time and so forth. So it's not just a one way. It's actually kind of a two-way street. And so for me, going to a school like Bentley University, which was predominantly white, going to a predominantly white corporate environment, I knew how to be strategic to be successful there as well.
That word there comes again, and then able to strategize yourself and able to know how to walk.
Exactly, exactly.
And I asked your wife to bring
awesome. She's the best.
Bring water.
She's the best.
I whispered to her, like, go bring some water. Here you go, babe.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so you've got to be strategic, and that's how I've succeeded for 18 years in a corporate environment. And so one of the things that I quickly learned is always doing four things.
4 things. Okay, what are those 4 things to be successful? Are these 4 things to help people to become successful?
I've summed them up as what I call my 4 B's. Which
4
is
B's.
Building your brain.
Okay.
Right? Building your board.
Okay.
Building your brand and your balance.
Okay, when you say, I could understand building your brain, building your board, meaning board of people, like the board members.
I'll explain.
Is that what you? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'll explain. So in terms of building your brain, there's a number of facets to that. First of all, it's always looking to learn, having a growth mindset.
Okay.
Right?
Growth mindset.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay.
Exactly.
Growth
and
mindset.
so there's a lot of different ways you can do that. And one of the best ways to learn is to ask questions. You add a lot of value to any corporate environment, any environment, for matter of fact, when you ask questions, because then it gives
so
everybody.
Wonderful. I'm so happy that I'm able to ask you questions. I think and I hope that many of the viewers who's watching this will learn from you, because you say the 4B and what you are explaining right now. Even I myself, I need to know this. I need to learn this, and I need to hear this from you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
building your brain.
Yes.
Okay.
So you have to build your brain, and one of the best ways to do this is ask questions. There's no stupid question, and often when you ask a question, it makes others think, and it allows everybody in the room to learn. And so that is very important to building the brain. And you create a lot of value that any corporate environment is going to want you to be part of, because you're going to be adding value.
Okay.
The other is, what I would say is, like, you are what you eat, you are what you read.
Oh, okay.
And so you should be an avid reader. And
reading such as what kind of
and
literature, what kind of materials,
and that's why I said you are what you eat. That's all what you read. Like, if you're eating bad stuff, you're gonna become unhealthy. If you're reading bad stuff, that's it. That's the same. Is the same is true. So you've got to read things that is going to build your brain. Okay. So the Wall Street Journal. Reading books that are going to build you from a competence standpoint, from a learning standpoint, from a personal growth standpoint. Look to do those. Reading books about skills that you're going to need to have, like negotiating skills and so forth. Okay,
negotiating. See, that's one thing that I myself need to learn how to negotiate. I'm the type of person, I wear my hearts on my sleeve. People can tell me right away that I'm interested in that item or that the merchandise, and they know that I am so into it that they're not gonna low down their price. How would you negotiate?
Well, here's the thing: everybody is learning, how to negotiate the minute they get out of the womb. So even as a baby, they know, like, if they cry, they get more of something.
That's natural instinct.
And so that's a negotiation.
That's instinct.
It's right.
Yeah.
But we are learning to negotiate all the time. The difference is about how to be strategic. About negotiation.
That's the word again.
What goes when, and knowing kind of the different phases, because negotiation has 3 phases. It has a beginning, has a middle, and it has an end.
Okay.
And it's like, what strategy do you apply at what time, and what counter strategy for when someone does something? What are the things that's going to counter it to, put you in the best position, but still walk away with them feeling happy and feeling good.
Okay. Keep on going. And
and we're still on the brain.
Yeah, on the brain.
And we're still building the brain. And then the other piece to building the brain is as I said, is traveling. Okay. Right? Because one of the best ways to learn and building your brain is immersing yourself in other cultures. Whether you're learning the language, even a few, words makes all the difference, because it helps people to open up, and then they engage with you, and you can learn from them. Okay. And you can learn from everybody, no matter how small, big, old, young. You can learn from everyone. And so traveling does that. It also
that's why you travel a lot.
That's why I travel a lot. Absolutely. It helps you to get different perspective, because perspective is usually born of where we grow up. But when you travel, you realize that perspective could be false, or it may not make the best sense. And so it's kind of like, testing a different religion, so you're learning, okay, well, these other people do this differently, and which way is truly better? And so traveling allows you to learn and open your mind to new ways of doing things. That could bring a lot of value to any organization because it helps you to be more innovative. It helps you to be more strategic, and all these things provide value that a company will pay for.
I love the fact that you, I don't want to say throw in these words. My followers or people who are watching the video, my videos, are sharing with the people.
Yep.
Like some of the words that you, just said, innovative. What does it mean?
It's about bringing kind of new ways to do things.
New ways to do things, okay.
And you have to think outside of the box. You have to have a different perspective. You have to have an open mind in order to be innovative, right?
I'm glad.
So those are the things. So I won't expand much more on
the brain. Okay, now
but
the board.
Yeah,
okay.
The board piece. A company has a board of directors.
Okay,
right.
That's BOARD. Board of directors.
Yes, right.
Okay,
and it's a number of people that they bring together that is going to provide guidance to that company, so that that company can do the right thing and continue to grow and continue to be the best company that it can be, and it continues forever, right? In the same way, we as individuals need to have a board. We need to have people around you that are not just people who are going to say yes to everything, but people who are going to question, people who are going to give advice and guidance in order to make you better.
Okay.
Right?
So that you
and
can
help
grow.
you make better decisions. And, people who are going to help bring up the average. Because, you're typically the average of the 5 people that you keep closest to you.
Yeah, correct.
And you have to think about, are you bringing down that average?
Or
are you bringing up the average? If you're always bringing up the average, then maybe you've got to have a new board of people.
So you want people that are
who's always going to help you rise.
Okay.
Exactly. The other thing in terms of people who help you rise is not just having mentors, because a lot of people know to have mentors, and it's absolutely great to have mentors. Everybody should, because that gives you exposure. Those people you can kind of just talk to about anything, and they can help, and they could be part of that board, right? But you also need sponsors.
Okay.
Right, and the difference is
how would you get sponsored? So, I know with businesses, like if you have something that they want.
Yep.
Or something that better the world.
Yep.
You have sponsors.
Yes.
Okay. So how would you get sponsored?
Well, I'll tell you the difference between mentors and sponsors, because a lot of people don't really realize the difference. The difference with sponsors are people who are going to speak great about you when you're not in the room.
Okay.
So when you, as my sister-in-law is. Telling people out there, my brother-in-law is great and he's awesome.
No, because
you're a sponsor.
Because you are my brother-in-law.
You're a sponsor. But, to your question, how did I develop you as a sponsor? It's because that we've had interaction and engagement where you see, hey, this person has these values. This person demonstrates this hard work and this commitment and so forth. And to you, that's somebody you want to support. So you have to cultivate sponsorship, right?
Okay.
It's something that you've got to build
your own reputation.
You've got to sow those seeds to cultivate, to cultivate sponsors. And sometimes it's basically asking for it too. Like, letting people know, hey, I want you to be my sponsor. But it's people who are going to speak great about you when you're not in the room. And that oftentimes leads to greater opportunity. It leads to doors being open. And it leads to, especially people like me, people of color, being in an organization for 18 years.
I know.
That's
a long time.
Because there's someone somewhere is going to say, no, this is someone that we need to keep in the organization. This is someone that we want to continue to promote. And it's not up to me. It's someone else who's saying that about me that's going to really,
speak for
really
you on
translate
your
into
behalf.
exactly. And so you have to have sponsors. You have to cultivate sponsors, right? That's part of the board, right?
The brain, the board. Okay.
Right. And then in terms of brand,
building
right?
your own brand.
Brand is important. It's because it's how you carry yourself.
Okay.
It's how do you conduct yourself every day.
Does it include like your professional book?
Yes.
Okay.
So you've got to there's to some extent you've got to be your authentic self. And that's more of kind of the way of doing things today. However, at the same time, you have to think about, look, yes, there's times when you got to wear your blue blazer.
Okay.
Because
you know
based
what,
on how you dress and how you look.
Can I interrupt you?
I'm going to tell you one this.
Okay, go ahead.
Before you even, open your mouth to say a single word, people make perceptions of you. And so the way you carry yourself, the way you look is important for you to even get the opportunity to speak.
Okay. A long time ago, I met this person, and she said to me, like, she knows you. And she said, if you don't know Gary, you would think that he's a bum. I'm like, really? Why? I always seen you. I've seen you both in your normal clothes and also in your business attire, how you dress to go to work. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. If you see him on the street and he's not in working clothes, you think that he's a hobo. What was that? What's that expression? I'm like, homeless. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh. So now when I see you sometime, how you try to fix the house and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I got it. At first I didn't have that image because I didn't. They see that yet. But then once I, come over to the house to visit my sister, and I see you in your, and I'm like, okay.
Yes. So to your point, what you have to learn is how to code switch.
Code switch, okay.
Right?
Code switching.
So if I'm fixing a house, that's for me, then yes, I've got my paint all over and whatever, because that's what I'm doing and that's what I'm focusing